YouTube, it's Kel. How are you? I hope that this video finds you well. I wanted to do a podcast tonight on a subject that is near and dear to my own heart. And it's also something that I constantly get asked about in sessions. And that is the topic of kind of how much is too much in a relationship, how much work is too much work, when should I let it go? And now granted, every situation is different, so I am not telling you, to get out at any specific point in time. That's a very personal decision that only you can make. That is like, what is the right answer for you, right? No one can tell you when to break up or when not to break up. But now, this is what I have learned in the last few years specifically, especially trying to like really process how exactly I want to say this to people, especially as a therapist in sessions, because on the one hand, I really care about unconditional love. I really feel that unconditional love is such a beautiful thing. It's a healing thing. People want to be accepted and not shamed in relationships, and they want to know that they are, loved no matter what, right? So there is an unconditional love component to the way that I think. I'm only going to touch briefly on the Christianity thing, but it is obviously a very strong theme in Christianity, considering that Jesus died to unconditionally love us, right? But the question is, and I'm not going to go too much into my own personal spiritual life, but what I have seen is, this is basically kind of my sum total of the lessons that I've learned about this and how I would like to say it, especially to teenage girls out there, to young women, to just women of any age who have not kind of learned the difference, or how much is too much disrespect to take. And then also men. This is for men out there too, because men can be caught up in patterns of disrespect also. So this is my advice after, and I won't tell you how many years, 4+ decades of living and 2+ decades of doing therapy work. Here's my tidbit, my 2 cents, take it or leave it. If you don't take it, that's fine, but this is just what I've learned. It is one thing to unconditionally love people. It is even another to put up with one episode of disrespect. If someone says something, or like they have a horrible day, and you know that there's a pattern of respect that has been set in your relationship, you've built the foundation of respect, then you might, if they're having a bad day and they roll their eyes or say something a little snappy, you could even make the case for forgiving that and like just not addressing it if it is just a bad day. And now granted, where I'm at in my life, I'm learning to just address things pretty much all the time. I mean, again, but if someone has a pattern of respecting me chronically, then if they're having a bad day and they roll their eyes, I'm already going to know that it's likely doesn't have to do with me. But here's the big thing that I want you to take away. I want you to remember 5 words, okay? When it comes to what should I put up with in a relationship, how much work is too much work, when should I leave, The 5 words that I have for you, okay, are a chronic pattern of disrespect, okay? So what I would say is, if it's one person has a bad day and you don't even think of whatever they're doing is personal to you, they say something in a weird tone, or then for me personally, I'll make a discerning decision if I want to address it or not. But here's the key. If there has been a chronic pattern of disrespect or not valuing you, but really that's the same thing to me as disrespect, then that should be a deal breaker for you. Okay. Now, again, I'm not telling you end it. There's multiple ways to deal with it, which we'll talk about, but you can go to therapy if you've been in a long-term relationship. Let's just say you have kids with this person. You can go to therapy about it. You can communicate about the disrespect. You can set boundaries, right? There's lots of ways to deal with a chronic pattern of disrespect, but whatever you do, you don't just want to unconditionally love and accept that. And I'll tell you all, I'm just going to touch on the Jesus thing for a second. But for me, for a long time, I was like, well, gosh, Jesus like died on the cross for us. And, you know, he loved us so much that he kind of didn't care about his own, whether people respected him or not. And he sacrificed, you know, his life to love us. So for a long time, I had a very difficult time because I was like, maybe that's what I, you know, to unconditionally love people, want to be like Jesus. Maybe that's what I need to do, you know, is even just kind of total disregard for whether if someone like respects me or not, I'll love and forgive them and accept them. And, but here's what I have since really realized is that, and this is what Christianity needs to talk about more, is that Jesus did all of that self-sacrifice so that we don't have to go to the lengths that he did. When he died on the cross for us, he, you know, it says in the New Testament that now God looks at us like we are a royal priesthood, you know? So in the sense of like, because of what Jesus did for us, we are now viewed by God as, you know, not full of sin. We are looked at by God, you know, if through Jesus, we're looked at as a royal priesthood. Okay. So, and that is an identity shift. And the whole thing is we have to, and that is for me, I'm very grateful to the work that Jesus did for that. Right. But, it's kind of like it's one and it's done. Like he did all the work. It's done. Now our relationship to God has changed. And we do not have to disrespect ourselves by subjecting ourselves to any kind of disrespect from other people in order to show that we are unconditionally loving or, you know, be unconditionally loving. Because here's the thing. You can be unconditionally loving from a distance. You can step back and say, hey, that behavior is not okay with me, but we're either going to remedy it or we're not working, or, you know what I mean? But I still love and respect and cherish you as a person, but that doesn't mean that I need to be in a close relationship with someone who is constantly disrespecting me or walking all over my boundaries or not valuing me, not cherishing me, not giving me the like royal treatment I deserve. Like, so the point is that you can unconditionally love people while not also allowing yourself to be chronically disrespected. Because I truly do believe that you do teach people how to treat you. So if you put up with and you return again for, like, you allow yourself to be in the space where you're going to be chronically disrespected, then that is actually a form of, you know what I mean? You're then choosing to disrespect yourself as well. So my point is that if you know your worth, and to build up your worth, you need to know that you are cared about, cherished, esteemed by the people that are closest to you and around you. And they should show you that in a pattern on a regular basis. And if there ever is an episode of disrespect, it should be, you know, kind of the atypical scenario, not the typical scenario. And if you are in a relationship where the disrespect is typical, whether it's, you know, someone shows inconsistency all the time, you don't know if you can rely on them, whether they neglect you, whether they take days to get back to you, whether they, you know, to me, taking days to get back to someone, if you're in a relationship with them, is disrespectful. So, it's just basically, if you were, it's one thing, again, to me, it's, if you want to forgive like an episode or an action of disrespect, if it's atypical to the relationship, that's your discernment. Choose, you know, and then so here's the other thing is you don't always have to let that person go. You don't always have to. Now, granted, I would make the case that if they have shown you a chronic pattern of disrespect over time, that relationship may not be valuable to you, but you don't have to necessarily end it if you don't want to, but you can start to use your voice to address the issues, right? And you can say things like, here's a phrase, that disrespect is not okay with me. When you did that, when you did X, it felt disrespectful to me. In the future, I would prefer either you do Y or something that feels respectful to me. So you can say, and I'm going to do another video at some point about this, but it's like being able to, you can say, I'm mad at you and you hurt me and I love you all at the same time. See, and we'll get into this in another video, but a lot of people make those like there's a dichotomy there of like, you're either a mad, angry person or you're loving and accepting and forgiving, right? And so, but I would say if someone is disrespecting you, you can be mad about it because it's actually protecting the love that you have for that person. And it's protecting, anger a lot of times, and I'm not for like raging and being like, a horrible person, especially taking it out on other people. But a lot of times anger, it exists or you feel it because some boundary's been violated or someone's disrespecting you or somehow the love and relationship that you have with someone is not being taken care of the way that it should be. And so I will get into, that's a whole different video of like, you can say, I'm mad at you and I love you at the same time. That's a different video. I'm going to do it another one. But my point is, again, the 5 words for today are a chronic pattern of disrespect. Okay. So those 5 words, I want any young teenage girl to remember. I want any woman who has not learned this lesson in life yet, because it took me too long to learn it. And it kind of like, I do believe that the universe brings us, we'll get into it in another video, but like the universe brings us themes of certain lessons we're supposed to learn until we learn them. And so I'd say if you're in any kind of situation where someone is chronically disrespecting you with a pattern of disrespect, then you can use your voice to say, that's not okay with me. Can you, I would appreciate if you would treat me this way. Is that possible? And if they say yes, great. If they say no, then you're already with the wrong person, right? So, because good relationships should be based on mutual respect for each other and treating each other, honoring the dignity in each other, And so if they say no, just like, bye. You also have boundaries in your time that you spend with them, in the effort that you put into the relationship. But then also, if you want to take it further, you can go to therapy and say, hey, when he does this or when she does this, I feel disrespected. That's not okay with me. And so how can we learn to not have that happen anymore, right? So to me, that's still standing up for your own dignity, your own self-worth, your own self-respect. And you have to have that kind of backbone, or else, honestly, you will very possibly have people being drawn to you if they want to take advantage of you or take advantage of your kindness or, your love. So you have to learn to use your voice to say things like, that behavior is not okay with me, or when you did that, I felt disrespected, or hey, when you did that, it hurt me and I don't like that feeling and I don't like being hurt by my partner. And, so in the future, can we do, and you give like solutions as to how you do want to be treated that shows respect. Okay. So, this was just for, again, today, the 5 words, a chronic pattern of disrespect. And I want every young woman, every adult woman who has not learned that yet, that you can say, hey, one episode, we all have bad days. You had a, I don't know, one episode of something. It's like, to me, you can understand and forgive that. But when someone shows you a chronic pattern of disrespect, 2 or more incidents, or, really depends on what you define as a pattern, but I feel like it when you're in it, then you need to use your voice to say, that is not okay with me. I'm feeling disrespected when you do that, and I deserve respect because I give you respect, and we should give each other respect as human beings, because that's what good relationships should be built on. So again, a lot of times in relationships, I get the question of like, should I keep going in this? And no one can answer that for you. But the one question I have for all those people now is, are they showing you a chronic pattern of respect or a chronic pattern of disrespect? And disrespect can be seen in neglect. It can be seen as anger that's taken out on you when it shouldn't be. It can be seen as microaggressions, like facial expressions, or they're rolling their eyes, or they're not making eye contact with you and they're not listening to you. They're not being present with you. If they're just kind of like over here and like whatever, then that can be a pattern of disrespect that you're seeing. So again, there's a lot. I mean, it also can be just point blank insults or put downs. And the whole negging. Ugh, I won't even get into that tonight, but oh my, if anyone is negging you in your relationship, get out. Again, I don't want to tell people what to do. If I will not say specifically, this is just a very generic message to generic people. Obviously, every situation is different. If you've been in a long-term relationship with someone, you have kids with them, and I'm not suggesting it would be easy to just jump ship, but there's a gamut of interventions between staying in it and just unconditionally loving and accepting someone and putting up with it. That's on one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is obviously fully getting out and never talking to that person again, right? But there is so much you can do in between on that spectrum. So much of it has to do with boundaries that you set and you follow in your actions, and also your words when you say, that is not okay with me. This is okay with me. This is not okay with me. This is how I expect to be treated. This is how I do not expect to be treated, and I will not tolerate that. So, and then there's just a lot in between, right? Therapy, you could go to therapy and address it. If you don't feel comfortable using your own voice yet, therapy can help you to learn how to use your voice, right? And learn how to set boundaries. So I would suggest using the gamut of interventions, because if you don't stand up for your own self-worth, who is going to? You can't expect anybody else to. You're going to be teaching people how to treat you, and you have to know that because you're a human being, you deserve dignity, you deserve respect, you deserve people to just honor the humanity in you. And if you are not feeling that way and there's a chronic pattern of disrespect taking place, then I would very much challenge you tonight to use that gamut of interventions, to use boundaries, to use your voice. You can do it kindly. You do not have to be a bitch to do it. You can very much do it. You can go take care of yourself. You can detach. There's so many different ways you can do it. But make sure, please, and this is just my encouragement again to young girls, to men out there, again, the same thing goes for men. Let me just say this real quick before I go. If you're in a relationship, men, with a woman who is chronically disrespecting you, then I would challenge you to speak up for your own worth and dignity too. And if that woman cannot handle it, then maybe you're in the wrong situation. If she doesn't respond respectfully to your request to be respected. Now, I'm not talking about bowing down to anybody. I'm talking about just regular consideration that should be taking place in a close, intimate relationship. You should be considering and thinking about your partner. Not all the time. You should have a life. But again, if there's a chronic pattern of disrespect, I also challenge men to bring it up, because honestly, women will respect it, and a lot of times they'll be more attracted to it if a guy says, hey, that felt disrespectful to me, and I don't want us to build a pattern of treating each other disrespectfully. A woman would be so attracted to that, honestly, as long as it's a reasonable thing. So a chronic pattern of disrespect. I know I've said it a million times today, but that is the distinction between, should you just forget it? Is it just one thing where we all have bad days and we all can be bitchy? Oh, sorry. I don't know if YouTube allows that word, but tired or, rude. Like, we can all be accidentally snappy to people. But a chronic pattern of disrespect is something that needs to be addressed. And it is something so dear to my heart, because it took me, I think, too long to learn that. So, and that you can also still be unconditionally loving when you do that. And in fact, you are protecting the love when you do that. So, and you're protecting the relationship by addressing patterns of disrespect. Okay. I have been wanting to do this one for a while, so I hope that it found you well. And if you are in a relationship, I hope you, either go to your own therapy to figure out how to set boundaries, or go to therapy with your person, or just set, begin living in a way in life that respects your humanity, your dignity, and is, you're worthy of respect from other people. And I just want to send love, and I hope that you're happy and healthy and well tonight, and I will see you next time.